Okay, this is October 12th, 2021 here in Kitchener, Ontario, Zone 5, and I'm back with just a quick update here. As you can see, I've got this section of lawn and a bunch of sod laying on the patio. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you will have seen that this was a pretty messy work area previously, and the mess has not disappeared, it's just been sort of displaced to the edges. There's all kinds of mess now out in this section, but and that was pretty messy before. But this sod came from, again, if you've seen some of my previous videos, you've seen that I've removed some sod from the boulevard. The city has done work renovating the boulevards, and they resodded mine, and I want to plant it with some ornamentals and some lawn replacement. So I removed a large section of the sod, and I've now planted the boulevard with all kinds of stuff. And I did a whole bunch more of that today. But with the sod that I removed, I decided to make this section a lawn, which I always wanted it to be a lawn. Just that over the many years that I've been working in the yard here, doing one upgrade or one project each year, this has just been the work area, and it was a big mess. And whatever lawn was here was quickly destroyed by all the stuff that I was piling on top of it. But I want it to be a lawn, so I've put the sod in. I've took the opportunity to do that, and I want this. I don't want this just to be a grass lawn. I want this to be sort of a flowering meadow. And so some of what I've done is I have lots of ajuga. If we look over in this section, you can see I've got tons of this ajuga growing between the cracks in the flagstone, and it's very easy to take sections of that. And so that's what I've done here along along the brick here, and just under the sod I've tucked these cuttings of ajuga, or these separations of ajuga. And we can look at those. We can look at a little bit more about how to take those cuttings. And I've got some of them I've stuck in the middle of this lawn area. Another thing I've done is I have bulbs. So in some of my previous videos I talked about how I had collected a whole bunch of bulbs from the boulevard before the bulldozer came. So here's an example. There's some kind of bulb here. That's probably snowdrop. And these bins are full of little bulbs of snowdrop. So in some of these sections, and if I pull up a random one, am I going to get lucky? Not under that one, maybe under this one. In some of these sections I've placed bulbs, spring bulbs of various things, and I've done that throughout the area here. I've tried to sort of concentrate it toward the edges where I think the snowdrifts will melt soonest, and then there will be a bit of a display of spring flowers coming up. I've got some crocus bulbs that I bought that I haven't put in yet, but I'm going to distribute some of those. And so now I've got all this extra sod. I'd taken a first cut from the boulevard, and I just went out today and did a whole bunch more work on it, and I ended up cutting a bunch more sod out. So I've got this extra sod here laying around, and I think I'll use it to fill in. I won't be able to use all of it, but I'll use it to just fill in this last few little muddy sections here around the bins, around these earth machines. And the rest of it, I guess, will go into the earth machines and just be compost. So if we go over here, we can talk a little bit about the ajuga. We can just see that it grows very happily along the, in the spaces between the flagstone here. And it's very easy to take. The way this thing grows, it always sends out these runners. I've already come through and collected a whole bunch, but maybe we can find an example here. Okay, so here's a good example. This is just a loose, so it's connected by this runner here, and there's a loose plant. It's probably already forming a few roots from the crown of the plant here. So this you can just tear off quite easily, and there you go. You've got another ajuga plant. So this area, this flagstone area, I just go along the edge of the flagstone and I find plants that aren't rooted in, and I take them. And some of these are rooted in, some of these are not, right? You can just kind of comb your hand through the middle and find loose offshoots and just take them. But I normally try to go along the edge and find these loose ones. And you can just find by feel where they're not rooted. And if it is rooted, I leave it. So anyway, this section filled in very quickly with just a few divisions of ajuga. And now I've got my handful of more divisions, and I can, see, these will probably, I'll just put out into the boulevard as part of the continued planting. If we look over here, I've just got a whole bunch of, so one thing I've done, I had a whole bunch of these hostas rescued from out front, and now I've placed them into these clay pots. That's actually a plastic pot, but into these clay pots, and they can survive the winter in those in the shed. And so those will be kind of a permanent decorative collection of containers. But over here I've got some plants staged to go out to the boulevard. So we'll just add this handful of ajuga to my pile here. But I've got I think this is a Sunpower hosta. I've got a few crowns separated out from that, quite large, big root systems on those, really healthy. I've got a few, this is I think called Praying Hands hosta. It's this long, narrow leaf. And these I'm not going to send to the boulevard actually, they're just in this bin, but I'm going to set those up in a similar container as I've done with those. So I'm going to find a proper container for them and have these Praying Hands hosta containerized. I've got some of this Autumn Joy sedum. I've put a ton of this already into the boulevard. It's not a precious plant for me, so I don't mind spending lots of it in the boulevard. And then here is a whole bunch of wild violets. So again, that's a weed that grows like crazy. Over in this flagstone section, there's tons of that wild violet, and you can just easily pull up. It keeps growing by these. I don't know the technical term for that. Is it? I don't know. Rhizomes? I don't know. Anyway, I got tons of this wild violet here, and in the spring you'll get a purple flower from that. The rest of the year you get these heart-shaped leaves, and they start to, when the weather gets dry, they start to take damage and wilt a little bit. They don't look the greatest, but when it's raining out and when everything's well hydrated, they look pretty nice. And they stay low. They're about maybe 6 inches off the ground, and they just kind of fill in. And in the spring you get purple flowers. So this is my collection out here. Oh, I've got this pulmonaria. I think this is a pulmonaria. Pretty sure this is a pulmonaria, and I've got a few of these coming up. I guess it seeds itself. I bought a few pulmonaria from the nursery a couple years ago, and it seems to seed itself, and I've seen a few of these come up. So this is maybe not so precious a plant, but I'm going to use it as a feature out beside the street. Just that one plant. I don't have a ton of it, but I've just got that one plant, and I don't want to manage it in that container. So anyway, here's some of the plants that are destined for the boulevard, and I'll do a follow-up video showing how the planting out there has continued to evolve. Anyway, let's end this one here. October 12th. See you in the next one.